Yeah.
It's actually, you know what? It's really sharp.
Recording is on.
Sorry, what'd you say? It's.
I said it's really sharp. Like if you look at Teams, we use Teams all the time, and I find because like the transition between your face and the background, if you do blur on the Teams, it's all it looks horrible. But with what you're doing there, it's really clear and sharp.
It's almost like a pop-out sort of thing, right? It looks kind of three-dimensional. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very sharp.
Yeah, I mean, maybe with like rapid movement, actually, it's not so bad.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, welcome to the September 1st audio frequency mixer meeting. I've lost my mouse. There it is. Okay. So greetings, everyone. Hi, I guess. My call out for like mini presentations for today, only sussed out one, which is Wayne. He's got some results to share with us in a little bit about his adventures with KiCad and the results from the Fab House. I don't suppose there's anyone else here that's got any last minute additions to the program, informal as it may, or otherwise you can just talk about it when it's your turn. So
yeah, just roundtable stuff.
So yeah, I don't know how much the group is into this kind of thing. I do generally post these online conventions when they're happening, but you may or may not be aware that this Saturday and Sunday is the, well, at least no charge to members of the GQRP club, their convention, their annual, I guess it would normally be in person, but I think it's their second annual virtual convention. So yeah, you might want to check it out. It's got some, once again, interesting speakers going on.
It looks really good, actually.
There, yeah. So you've obviously had a look at it, and I checked out the price to join the GQRP. It's $20 US. That's the admission, and that gets you the 4 sprats a year, and actually no extra charge for the conference this year. Probably in person there is a little bit of a charge, but and actually they have a special offer if you join. I think in the next 3 days or so, it's still $20, and you're a member for 15 months, I guess, or 16 months. Runs right through to the end of next year. So something to consider. Anyway, $20 ain't so much, right? So I did want to share a document.
Just before you share off there, I think Eric, they said that they were going to make it available to the general public around Christmas time.
The recordings?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I did. They normally do that. They put the YouTube, I don't know if that's mentioned here or not. Yeah, as promised during last year's convention in December 2020, they set up a YouTube channel. So I don't know if they're going to wait till December or not. Or
they said that. They said that this year as well.
For this year as well, yeah, they made it widely available. But members get the benefit of the early release. So yeah, you are correct. There you go.
What's the link?
Well, just go to the GQRP. Just Google GQRP, and the link is right on their homepage to the convention. So
now, one thing they did say was, don't leave it to the last minute to join, otherwise you may not get processed in time.
But as you can see here, it's stuff right up our alley, right? RF Constructions by Charlie Morris, right? I think he's a pretty well-known name in the group here. We got Farhan doing simple rig design. Yeah, who knows? I guess what kind of measuring tools he's going to use. Maybe he's going to use Hans's built-in measuring equipment on his rigs to measure his stuff. Who knows? Anyway, we got Mr. Giuliano, N6QW, talking about his recent project there. The author of EasyNeck, Roy Llewellyn, is going to be doing a talk on, I guess, a little, I mean, it's good to hear it right from the horse's mouth, I think, right? Even though, I guess, like you said, Dave, on our recent trip, watching a presentation isn't the same as doing, but hey, you know what? It's probably interesting. We got Mr. Wolke as well here, W2AEW, talking about test equipment. So, anyway, it starts very early. I mean, you look at the UTC times, right? So this is 5 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, right?
Hey, Eric, was that Dennis from?
Oh yeah.
Is that Dennis from
the Dennis from
What's the site he used to run?
G6
Kanga. Kanga,
Yeah.
Kanga that's Dennis, right? From Kanga.
Don't know.
Yeah, that's him. Kanga Products G6 YBC. That'll be him. You're right. Yeah. So
Yeah, so they've got some very good,
heavy hitters.
patients.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it's pretty good. You got what, about 8 hours, 7-8 hours each day or whatever. This one's wrapping up at 2 p.m. So you still have most of your day. I think the next day wraps up at 4 p.m. our time, something like that. So 4:30. So anyway, there you go. That's available on their website. You can look at this is a dynamic document that they've got posted for all to see.
When is this event?
This Saturday starts at 5 a.m. So you do have to, I know you joined late, Hassan. Good evening. You do have to be a member of the GQRP, but $20 US gets you in and gets you 4 sprats, probably 5 sprats over the next 16 months. So,
All right.
Yeah, so hey, I'd say that's a pretty good bargain. So I don't know if there's much else to say really. Oh yeah, I guess on Sunday morning, for those of you that are actually operators, they do have, it was mentioned in the program there, but an on-air activity session. So it's just a fun thing, not a contest, but if you can contact their or work the club station, they're going to have that up and running. So I don't know how many times you talk to people from the UK, but that is available. You can set up a sked too if you think it's going to be a little bit tough to contact them. So anyway, there you go. So it's the GQRP convention starting in 4 days, I suppose. Three days. It's already Wednesday evening, isn't it? So all right. There's also discussion about past recordings of this past our past recordings of these meetings. Peter and I were going back and forth a little bit with that recently. So if any of those assembled are looking for specific recordings, it's a work in progress, me putting them up on our YouTube channel. Hopefully everybody has the link. I have posted it a few times, but it is there. You just search YouTube for PARC HB or PARC Homebrew, and you'll find it. But there's only a few of the ones from last spring and summer, I think, posted up there yet. But if there's anything that anybody wants in particular, I'm more than happy to make links available to them. I can only keep about a month's worth of links available in Dropbox because I'm just using their free account or whatever. So storage is somewhat limited because each of our recordings are about 1.5 to 2 gigs. So
Google what?
Sorry, what?
You Google what on YouTube?
Search for PARC Homebrew, PARC Homebrew, and you should find it. So, and like I said, there's maybe 3 or 4 videos posted or whatever. But I mean, my rationale actually for posting them in order, and the reason why I'm not doing the latest ones is I don't know if you can resort things. Dave, you might know, being a YouTube what's the word? YouTuber. Yeah. Dave's going to be going to YouTube convention. Did he tell you? Yeah, he's going to be like going to those, fan conventions now. He's going to have groupies following him around and all that. So
it doesn't come up, Eric, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, I can't find it. I'm searching for it. I've never been able to go on YouTube and find that. Kind of funny. I got Homebrew, and it's taking me to brewing coffee and beer and wine.
Yeah, you're correct. I mean, I guess it's like anything else, right? It's popularity, right?
I don't know why you're so hesitant to say that we were correct.
Okay, I lied. Well, anyway, I will repost. I mean, the links are at least once or twice in our groups.io. But yeah, okay. Well, I am a liar. I have no idea. I tried Peel Homebrew, but I don't think it's there. I mean, I have it bookmarked on my thing. I'll put it in the chat window as well for everybody. So I shall find that. Um, Okay. So, like I said, if anybody wants anything specific, probably topic and or date, we can suss it out. Oh, sorry, that's what I was just about to say. Dave, can you reorder the as the owner of the content, the default sorting? You know what I mean? Like if I start posting new ones, they're going to be all out of order. I mean, yes, you'll be able to find the date or whatever, but I'm kind of worried if there you go, Peel Amateur Radio Club. Wow.
Oh,
There it is there.
That isn't what you said.
So what you could do, Eric, you could go in here, the person who owns a channel, you
Yep.
could go in here in settings, and you can go in here and set up a nickname. So you
Okay.
you
Like
could
an alias?
say, yeah, like an alias. So it'll say YouTube/channel PARC Homebrew. So you don't have to type in this nasty long URL.
Right.
How did you get everybody with great big smiles and grins?
No, that's the thumbnails.
Yeah, but everybody's laughing, and I never seen that. All you guys laugh.
You can't, I can't. This is my channel, but normally if I go to my channel, and I go to my meeting to here, I could go in here, and if I go in here, there is a way that you can edit it, and
You can choose the image.
yeah,
Right?
the thumbnail. You could go in and choose the thumbnail for it.
But my question is like if you go back to your main page there, if you want, like, I don't know, I know there's the obviously the sorting option for anybody who's looking at the page, but can you permanently change the order, or is it always default to the order that you posted them, the date
So
order?
it's a search, isn't it a search? It goes by search, right? So if you go to your channel, it's whatever you publish first.
Yeah,
First.
that's
It's in chronological order.
yeah. Okay, I figured it'd be kind of disjointed if I've posted the first few, the oldest ones. If I start posting the new ones, then you're going to have new, then old, then maybe new ones, and you know what I mean. It's going to be all over the place if I'm working back, from latest to earliest. So I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
Just label the titles properly. That's it.
I'm just a bit OCD that way. CDO.
That's the art of being a YouTuber, uploading things in the right order.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm trying to do, and not make it look, like whatever. Anyway, amateurish. So, okay. All right. So anyway, that was all I had to say as the beginning of the program. So if we want to dip Wayne right into your findings and results, if you're ready to go.
Sure. First, everybody can hear me. I've got to make sure I do my microphone right. We're good?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, so last talk I gave, I had sent off sent the Gerbil files off for manufacture. I did get some boards back, which I will show you a photo later, but they're like so. I ordered 5 boards, which is the standard thing that you do. Got 6, which I feel good, especially since they were free. It took 1 week from order to delivery.
Nice.
Wow.
That's pretty fast. I'm going to try the share screen thing again at great risk. Where is my... Okay, share the entire screen, please. Share. Oh, I have to click it. Then say share. All right, so photo first. So you never know if the thing's going to work till you build it, right? So this is 24 megahertz IF filter I built, and that's the board looks like. They're very nice. Like I guess all manufactured boards look nice compared to what you do at home. And what I had done here is to build this thing, I actually used LT Spice. Let me just bring that up here. So LT Spice, what I did is hiding in the quiet little part there is the actual filter. I entered all of the measured parameters for each of the crystals, And I built it in the same order that it was displayed in the schematic so that I should see the same kind of response. If you look at that nice, nasty little hump there, this is not really a good-looking filter by design, but I figured that was plausible because I didn't have a really good match for the crystals I had on hand. They were reasonably close in frequency, but they were all over the map with respect to the motional inductance, which is a good indicator for other things. Anyhow, so what did I get? Let's see if I can bring this up here. There. So that's the response I actually measured. So the slopes look okay, and I like the fine, but I was perplexed but pleased that I actually have a better. The top is nicer. it's almost flat. The bandwidth I was designing for was 10 megahertz. I got 9.9. That's not bad. And the insertion loss is about 2 dB, and it's 2 dB on this thing is about here. So, anyways, I don't know why that was, but how I had built the pitcher. Where's my pitcher? I built it to ground the cases. And I had actually grounded the first one before I thought to myself, I should actually measure it before and after I ground the cases. And the picture you're seeing is after one case got grounded and looking at the actual outcome, I'm going to say I'll stop there. That's good. I'm good enough. So that's basically it. QR filters are quite easy to build, I think, and relatively forgiving. But I wouldn't trust the, I think the Dishall product doesn't give you accurate enough bandwidths or values for the capacitors or the bandwidth and resistance and that sort of stuff. It's best to use it as a beginning and then go to a modeling tool like LT-Spice to tune it a bit. I, in fact, didn't use a resistant match at the end because I was kind of in a hurry to see the outcome. So these coils were wound based on what LT-Spice told me the matching was. And that's kind of risky to do, but I guess got lucky this time.
Yeah, it looked like Spice agreed with the real world pretty close. It was hard to tell looking on from the screen, but
well, actually, the performance was better in real world than LT-Spice, and I've never actually seen that. I have two kinds of things. The performance in the real world is not as good as LT-Spice says, or the performance in the real world is basically not working at all, and it produces smoke. So this was okay. I was very pleased.
How close were the center frequencies? They look pretty close.
You know what? Let me just see that. Yeah, it's the same. As far as you can see on the screen here.
Yeah.
The actual design was 2.998 rounding.
So if the Q of your actual filters was less than the Q of what you had in Spice, that might explain it, because it smeared out each individual filter's peak, and that might explain why you're seeing less ripple in the real than in Spice.
That could be the case, but it would mean I had a measuring problem because the design here is actually measured values that I obtained for motional inductance and capacitance and Q and insertion loss. So I've got the complete capacitor modeled here.
But the part of the Q spoilage would be from like the PCB itself. And I mean, I don't know if you measure the resistance at DC or in RF.
Good point. The resistance is measured at RF. It's just using the 3D method, right? You don't directly measure the resistance. You have a test jig that you know the actual resistance for, and you measure the insertion loss and compute the series resistance of each crystal. But yes, I didn't measure anything on the board. The board improved it, so that's the answer. Buy a board and you get a better filter.
Well, that's encouraged to see that. That's good.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with the result. I'm surprised. That's all. Thanks, Suzanne. I didn't think of that. All right. Anyways, let me close this thing because I'm bouncing back and forth.
When your board, are there some unpopulated through holes?
Yes. What I did on the board, which I get to show again because that's another opportunity for brag. What I did is I designed it so that I could put two capacitors in parallel to get an exact value. Another approach would be to allow for, say, a variable capacitor, but I thought, nah, don't need a trim capacitor for this. In fact, these values, what I did in the design is I designed it to 56 picofarads, and I used that. It's close enough for me to get the value that I was looking for, and I just stopped. If I needed something like, I don't know, 45 picofarads, I might want to use a 39 and a 5 if I could find one, and that's what that's for. Okay.
Can you comment on the actual board itself? Is everything done quite quite professional looking?
As far as I can tell, it's perfect. Okay, it's just they're first of all, the whatever they're doing for tinning, I'm finding is I've had PC boards that I've purchased as parts of kits that are kind of hard to solder to. These are really simple. Hole sizes are fine for the parts. I think maybe if I built this again, I might have thought to cause there to be a hole in the center here so I could tie it down with a nylon screw. I think I mentioned I decided not to put screw holes here. My idea is I can 3D print myself a holder and line it up vertically on the board. But yeah, it's awesome. Sorry I didn't take a photo of the bare board before I did it, but
Well, you got 4 other boards.
I got 5 other boards because they gave me an extra one.
You can go in
You
there.
can also put a little dab of hot glue in the middle of the toroid.
Sure, that'll do. That'll do. It's actually quite firm. I left it that way in case I wanted to tune the primary and secondary by moving things around a bit, see if it made any difference. And as it turned out the way it did, I decided not to touch it.
So now what are you going to do with this board, Wayne?
It's going to go into a receiver I want to build. I chose a high IF frequency because that basically means the bands of interest to me are below it, and I only need a low-pass filter instead of a series of switched bandpass filters to knock off any signals that'll bother me as interference in the IF frequency.
Okay. Well, that's good to see that board house works with the 5, with the free boards.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, they're after me a bit. There's a handler that got assigned to me. Her name is Nora, and she wants to know everything about my company. And I've told her 3 times I'm actually retired and just a hobbyist. I think she got it the 3rd time. She writes pretty good English, but I think her reading skills are or my writing skills are bad. Anyhow, this is I don't know if this particular gimmick will last all that long, guys. I mean, clearly what they're looking for, they're trying to recruit customers, and they have things like, send us mention somebody to us so we can ask them about coming over to our fold, that kind of stuff, and we'll give you a little bit more of a deal. So I think what you're looking as a starter. But like most of these companies deal with what I got, they charge you $5. The big deal here is they also charge you for shipping, and I didn't pay for shipping. It came by DHL, which I thought normally meant a US $20 tab automatically. So free. I mean, when I say free, I didn't pay it for shipping as well. So.
Okay, well, glad that worked out.
Something like a buildathon set where you could get your prototyping boards for free, and then when you're happy with all that, then you make the order of the boards and you order the 25 boards from the board house, and then that'll keep them happy as well.
I think so too. It's it's worth it. Now, if anybody wants one of these things, I think I have a few more than I actually need. I don't know I'll get them, but if you want to try one out, that's good. I chose
5 more receivers.
Couple, but the QR filter uses 2 filters at the end to tune the ripple. Okay, so it's essentially a 6 its characteristics are for a 6 crystal filter, and that's I think about the minimum you want for an IF filter. I don't know if anybody agrees. A lot of people build them up to 14 crystals, and they build the kinds that you tune them with capacitors in between each crystal to get the right exact value.
I think the most I've ever done is maybe 4 crystals, maybe 5, but I think 4 is the most I've done. But seeing the results of what you got there, how many did you have in there? 8?
You would count it as 6 because it's a QER filter. There are 8 crystals, yes. So 8 crystals is a lot of crystals to devote to a filter, I suppose, for most. But buy a bag and you hope for the best. Right.
All right. Yeah, very good. Well, I mean, I don't see any reason why we couldn't use them for the. I mean, could we even use it for the DCR project?
No.
Now that we know that they're a reasonable fab house.
No, don't complicate that project now.
Yeah.
Don't redesign
Well, I mean,
don't redesign it.
not resign, but I mean, like, do we have somebody who's actually going to produce the boards?
The usual board house, I guess.
Yeah, I'll do another couple of tries with these guys, I'm sure. So between the next time we open up for another one, I'll know a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, at least get prototype boards from these guys,
like
right?
$4 a board or something like that. If you buy one the size of the DCR, I think it works out to about $4 a board, maybe 5. I can't remember now.
Yeah, they're due a board of 10 by 16. 10 by 16 centimeters. Is that right? This is a 10 by 4, I should say. So most of the Chinese suppliers will give you the cheap free, the $5 for 5 at your limit is 10 centimeters square. So these guys appear to be allowing you to have a bigger board, and that might be a reason why you consider them for a project board, because it's more likely to fit whatever you're building.
Yeah, I wonder what the dimensions of our DCR project are. The PCB, probably within 10 by 16.
I can't remember. Where's Ken when you need him?
Yep.
I probably have the number. Well, while we're chatting, I'll take a quick look and see if we can find an email that states it. But
well, here's 10 if that helps. Right,
well, it's going to be taller. May not.
Yeah.
Why?
Right. So
well, you know what? I think my.
I mean, if we can get 5 of them, prototype for free, why not, right?
Why did you use a 20 megahertz IF?
it's actually 24. It's because if I use an IF that is far above where my signals of interest are, I will use a low pass filter that has plenty of room on it to basically cut off the opportunities for interference, or what do you call it? Is it intermodulation? Is that the right word? When you have an unluckily picked IF frequency, you can have a lot of chirp in there because as you tune, you're basically bringing in harmonics of M, the RF frequency and the LO frequency mixing. It's NRO, NRF, and NLO.
Right. Yeah. M and
right.
Yeah.
All that crap. So basically, I looked at it with one of the products that came with one of the software things that came with the disk experiments and experimental methods in RF design. They have a spur calculator. That's the term. Yeah. So I was trying to avoid spurs. That's the quick answer.
What band are you designing it for?
Below 20, because I'm basically dealing with frequencies up to around 15, and I'll take it as high as I can.
Okay.
What's the IF? Wayne, is it 24?
24 megahertz. It's actually, I believe it's 23.998 center of it. And I made it 10 kilohertz so that I can do AM. So when I actually build it, I have to add further filtering, and probably half the IF gain will be in the further filtering so that I can tune out the parts of the band I'm not interested in, SSB and CW.
And what's the reason people don't use like 100 megahertz IF or something really high up there?
Hard to build a crystal filter for that. I just thought I'd like to try the highest. This is about as high as you can go, I believe, and still be using a fundamental frequency crystal. They're not supposed to be able to work to build crystal filters if they're using harmonics. So
Couldn't you use LC filters at that frequency?
absolutely, absolutely, nothing stops you from doing it that way. I just like crystal filters, man. They're fun to build. I have actually way too many of them at home that I'm never going to use, but buy a kit, build one, and it's awful fun putting them up on my system, my analyzer to get that nice frequency response. If you put it really high up, it's just the same as I guess what I'm trying to do, except you would have absolutely the ability to see the entire HF band easy. A lot of people are doing that. In fact, I've seen crystal filters. What are they using? I think they're not lattice. They're not ladder filters. They're lattice filters used at like 56 megahertz, and they use a couple of them, and that's because it's so high up in frequency. It's plenty good enough to cut off the tails of the curve. Anywhere near you're going to see any spurs.
Okay.
Hey, Wayne, did you ever see the program I wrote for doing byproduct analysis?
I'm not sure. I think I saw you go do a demo of a kind of basically a crystal filter designer. Is that the same one?
No, this something else. When I was designing the dueling 612s, I wrote this little program here. So I just did this now. I put in 14 150 RF bandwidth of 6 kilohertz, your IF of 23999, IF bandwidth of 3500. You could select which mixing product you want and how many harmonics you want to go and analyze, and you just hit start and it analyzes all the mixing byproducts, and that band is clean. Whereas if you look at harmonics and byproducts, so the mixing of the mixing, so you mix two products together, you end up with an artifact. You mix that artifact with the main frequencies or with another artifact, and you could do that. And so right there, see, you get the 8th harmonic. You're getting a mixing product which is minus 33 dB down and minus 46 dB down, which is nothing. So
That's really good.
yeah, I wrote this to try and select what IF frequency I should use, right? And
That's cool.
it works pretty good.
I've used the spur table type stuff that they have on the internet, and the EMRFD book had a spur calculator and allowed you to see what spurs in there, but none of them are looking at intermodulation products or harmonics of intermodulation. So that's cool.
Yeah, so I showed this to Farhan. We had a conversation about this, and he was asking me to go and rewrite all the EMFRD software and make it web.
Cool.
Write it in a JavaScript, have it on a web page, as opposed to having it that you have to run it from a CD.
That's cool. Is it done yet?
No. I told him I said I wish I had time to go do that.
No, that's awesome.
So you're retired now.
You're looking at me?
Dave, you're semi-retired.
Okay. Anything else, Wayne, or anything for Wayne?
I couldn't find Ken's email showing what the dimensions are of the DCR, but my sample board that I did one circuit mock-up was about 100 by 40, and I'm pretty sure the PARC one is smaller than that.
I'd love to have a transmitter receiver that you can stick right up at the antenna base, so that you don't need to have coax coming down into the shack. Because that would be so neat, because then you wouldn't have to worry about lightning arresters or anything. I don't know if anyone's ever done that.
Antenna tuner maybe, but I've never heard of a rig going up. Oh, I've heard of LNAs at the top of the mast, but not the whole rig.
Yeah, if you put the power amplifier up at the antenna, then I guess your matching network and all that becomes a lot easier too. Like you can drive.
You just barely got a rig up and running in your shack, and now you want to stick it on top of your antenna?
Yeah, that's
Does that mind of yours ever relax?
no. I mean, that's
All you want is one shielded Ethernet cable coming down, right?
Yeah, no,
That's the
that's
only
a good
thing you
idea,
want.
I guess.
or Bluetooth, but yeah,
Power going up and Ethernet coming down.
Now,
that's
what's
right.
the ambient temperature of your rig, though? What's the temperature range it can operate in?
Yeah, that's a problem. But I guess I haven't thought about those concerns yet. But still,
One problem at a time.
one problem at a time, right?
Put a tube amp in there. That'll solve your heating problem.
Well, if a lot of the radio is digital, then it's less of a problem for temperature. It can, digital circuitry will go from like -20 to like +50 kind of thing, or +70 degrees. So it's less of an issue. Like 5G radio towers, like 5G network equipment, which some of the stuff I work on that gets used in that, they basically run uncooled, unfanned, and unheated. So, I mean, it's possible to do that. But I guess that's why they use digital circuitry as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks very much for that presentation, Wayne. Yep, good to know that it was a success with your Fab House first try. You were the first to dip your toe in the water, so appreciate that. All right. I guess we will go right into our round table. So around the screen, I guess, discussion as we have it, and see what's on everybody's bench, what they're working on, what's on their mind, what they want to be working on. So perhaps I will start in order on my screen. I'll go right after Wayne, which would be Al. So good evening, Al. Nice to see you. And what's on your mind these days?
Oh, well, hello, everyone. Not too much to report. I've been away for the last week down on the East Coast, so the bench is pretty quiet right now. I think the last time I mentioned I had picked up a Bayou jumper kit, which is quite a nice little kit, and I've been doing carpentry, building the nice tongue and groove box for this. So starting with the box, then I'll do the build a little bit later. The one thing I probably I'll bring it out one of these times in the show, but this is coming from the 4-state QRP club, and they're using or designing their front panels and having them done professionally by the PC board manufacturer. So they're absolutely gorgeous. They're plated through holes. They've got silk screened labeling. I'm really impressed with the front panel on this thing. Maybe something we might want to consider on one of our future buildathons if we're looking for an absolutely gorgeous front panel. But apart from that, I haven't been doing a lot of radio or electronics right now. Just working around the house. Work is kind of busy, so that's about all I have to report right now.
Okay, yeah, I don't think you're alone. I think a lot of workbenches are kind of on summer vacation, right? So not surprising. Which one? You know what? Speaking of the Bayou Jumper project, I did see a nice treatment that somebody did. Maybe you saw the picture too, but somebody had it in, I think a rather plain box. I think it might have just been a off-the-shelf craft store kind of box, but they did a nice treatment to it where they put like almost like leather straps around a couple leather straps around the body of it, and then little brass corner reinforcements, sort of made it look like an old, and I think like buckle attachments where it closed together. So, kind of made it look like an old suitcase or something like that. And
Yeah,
probably
I've actually made two boxes, and the idea is the second box I'm going to turn into an antenna tuner and long wire. I'll probably do a half-wave end-fed antenna and maybe some little spool to wind up the antenna and a built-in tuner. So this thing is going to be in two boxes: the radio proper, and then the antenna box, which I'll probably put a battery inside that box as well. So yeah, trying to make it look rather cool with the brass bits and pieces and a little bit vintage. So yeah, we're having fun figuring out what to do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's a kit that lends itself really well to that, right? Looks very, vintage on its own, just with the panel, the images I've seen of it. So yeah, it's an interesting project to check out if you are hankering to put together a kit. So, and then make it a little bit personalized, right? So, okay. All right. Well, thanks, Al. Appreciate your contribution there tonight. I guess we would go on next to Dave. So what are you up to?
So Al, is your background, before I start, Al, is your background in metal work, machining? I can't remember.
Yes to all of the above. I'm a tool junkie, so if it's machining and metalworking, I do an awful lot of that. And then, but of course, I'm into the radio and the electronics. And
I got a question that you may be able to answer. Are you familiar with these masks?
Is that one of those Army fiberglass?
Yeah, this one's aluminum though.
Oh, okay. I've never seen an aluminum one.
Yeah, so it's aluminum. It's like about, I don't know what the dimensions of this. I think it's 2 inches and a bit, right? And it's fairly thick aluminum. I'm planning to mount this against my house. I've got 2 standoffs, heavy duty standoffs. Yeah. I'm gonna have about 25 feet of this. 2 of these sections are going to be exposed above the anchor point to the house. Okay, and my R5 is going to be mounted on top of this, and it's a fairly heavy antenna. Doesn't have much of a wind footprint, but I'm just wondering, in terms of this snapping, should I be worried about that? Because what I was going to do, because this fits snugly into the other piece, I was going to glue them together and put a screw in to make sure there's no wobble. But do you think, should I be worried about this thing snapping?
Well, there's a lot of things to consider. If that's the anchor point and the antenna is going up beyond that, the bending forces are concentrated at that joint. So that's your weakest point. Depending on the wind load, whether you use guys or not, if you exceed your strength, yeah, it's probably going to bend first. If it's loose and wobbling, you're going to get fretting, and sooner or later you're going to wear the joint out before it breaks, and then it'll break. So much depends on how much force is on it.
Yeah, and that's because there's only, where it's anchored to the house, there's only one joint exposed. Like there's a joint and then there's another piece and then the antenna. There's only one joint exposed. So that's my weakest point. Was planning to do was to use the self-expanding glue to glue them together so it's got a good bond. There's no play, and then put a screw in there to reduce the play, because if this has got play, that's going to open up the the piece that goes around here, the female piece, and eventually it's going to tear, right?
Yeah, you're going to get fretting and wear, and when the wall thickness reduces enough from all that wear, it's going to fail.
But do you think? But do you
Have a
think?
nice bite.
Because if I was to take this and I've got about 10 feet of this and I attach my R5, I can pick it up, right? And pick it up and the post bends, but the joint never breaks. So I don't think I'm going to ever get that severe of a wind that's going to make it bend that much, especially just one joint, making one joint bend that much. So I'm just, maybe I'm just over analyzing this, but
Well, it looks like you might have a warning, Dave. Like what Al was saying, it'll probably start to bend first. And if it starts to bend, then you know you better get up and bring it down.
You can calculate the force, the drag in air at a certain velocity. I know I did that with that crazy egg beater I had in the back of my car. I had to calculate the drag on it going down the highway at 70 miles an hour, or 70, sorry, I guess it was 70, 60, 70.
You mean 60 miles an hour, right? You don't speed.
Yeah. And,
I don't know the braking strength of this. I could calculate the force on this because I know the wind load of the R5.
Yeah.
That's published.
It's probably around 60,000 psi. It's extrusion. It's probably an alloy called 6061 T6, which we got all the numbers for strength. Pretty strong stuff, actually. It's stronger than mild steel.
So do you think this thing is gonna break eventually?
I'm not going to stick my neck out for
Yeah, I
it.
knew it.
Because I don't think it's going to break, but I just want to make sure that this thing doesn't come down on my neighbor's yard.
Well, I've got the same poles, right? And they're only about 3.5 feet in length, right? So you only got about 7 feet, right?
Yeah, exposed. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So it's not as if I had a big long segment like what you have, Eric, you've got it guide because that wobbles, right? That wobbles.
It does.
Crazy.
It does, yeah.
But I only have like one and a half of these sticking up.
It's probably fine, but you can do, well, the old rule of thumb is if it looks substantial, it probably is. Suck it and see. Put it up and go over it and give it a few wobbles and see if you have any concern. If it really starts to sway when you push on the side of it, you might want to consider some additional bracing or maybe even a guy.
See, what I was even thinking of doing, Al, was putting an angle bracket, like an L bracket, right across here and screwing it into the top and the bottom, and that angle cannot bend, right? It's going to stay rigid, right? Well, the force is going to take to bend that. I think I'm going to have a hurricane that's going to bend that.
Generally what happens to these things, you can do a drag calculation and looks like you've got lots of margin, but what'll really bite you is a natural frequency where the things start to sway in the air back and forth.
Tacoma Narrows?
Yeah, exactly. You hit a resonant frequency and the thing starts to whip around like a fishing bowl.
Yeah.
But the calculators are readily out there. I can probably point you in the direction if you want to do some drag calculations. That's in any basic engineering textbook.
Well, I just want to figure out what the breaking point of that joint is. Like I even thought, my son said, Dad, just attach it to the steps. I'll stand on one end and you sit on the other end and see if it breaks.
You know what usually happens on thin wall tubing is you can run the numbers for how it would break in bending, but quite often what happens is it actually buckles before it breaks because it's a thin wall.
So you mean it's going to like actually kink?
Yep, that's probably what would happen.
Yeah. Peter, with your R5, what's it mounted to?
No, a steel pipe.
And how far from the base of the tower?
The last coupling it's probably up 15 feet anyways.
15 feet above your mast, your tower?
Yeah.
Geez, that's more. You've got more, but it's one continuous mast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, you've got more mast exposed than I've got, because these things are. Eric, how big is this thing? What's that? Like 4?
Like I said, about 3.5 feet, I think, roughly.
Yeah.
Like when they're nested, it's not quite 4 feet.
So it's like 6 feet I'm going to have exposed maximum. You've got 15 feet exposed, but the difference is you've got a solid mast, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
That's just one big piece.
Yeah. So
Well,
A solid pipe.
Sorry, Frank's had his hand up for a little while, Dave. I think he's got a question for you. Frank,
sure.
go ahead.
Mute, Frank.
Hang on. There we go. Just a suggestion, Dave. I had a similar situation, and I solved it by putting a doweling inside of the hollow tubing. In my case, it was plastic or fiberglass, and extending it for almost a foot either side, and then putting screws in to make sure that the doweling doesn't slip. And that lasted me as long as that antenna was up. So it might be an idea to brace that.
That's actually an excellent idea, because I do have a long, thin mast that I can put inside that, and I can just screw it in, and that'll make it more rigid, right?
Right.
Excellent idea, Frank. That's excellent idea.
And doing so, it won't buckle or kink when it fails.
Yeah, because as long as I got the solid piece extending past all the joints, that screw has to fail. It's the screw that's holding it. That's the part that's going to fail first, right?
I'd have to really look at it, but yeah, like I say, typically the tube will collapse on itself from kinking.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll fill up the center of it with material, a dowel, concrete, whatever you want, and it's not going to kink at that location.
Yeah, concrete, if I put that in there, I don't think I'm going to be able to get it up in the air. It's going to be too heavy.
It works well with fence posts.
Yeah. Yeah, fence posts is a good idea. That's what I got, and I think I might do that. Good idea. Thanks, guys. Anyway, Eric, long story short, that's what's on my bench.
And also, I don't know if you noticed, but Hassan, I think, wants to comment. I think he's got some recent experience with putting up masts on fences and other things. So, Hassan.
Yeah, I actually have a copy of Les Moxon's book, HF Antennas for All Location, and they have a table on windage calculations. So for 2-inch tubing, it's 5.8 pounds per foot with 100 miles per hour wind. So you got 8 feet section, so that'll be like 40 pounds of force. And if you calculate the torque, 8 feet is what, 100 inches roughly. So 100 inches, and you got 2-inch tubing multiplied by a factor of 50, you'll have about 5 times 840 times 50, 2,000 pounds of force on the bending moment. And so that'll easily cover, divide by the cross-sectional area, it's probably within the 60,000 pound limit that Al mentioned. So you're probably not going to break the tubing at all because of sheer bending forces. What you'll probably see is, even if you put I think Frank's suggestion is perfect, a dowel on the inside, but you got to make sure it's tight. There's no what's going to kill it is back and forth motion and kind of what's that word? Metal fatigue. So the purpose of the screw should not be to have any strength. It should just be to keep the parts in place.
That's right. Yeah. What's that? You said it was 50.
It's 5 pounds per foot. a 100 miles an hour wind on a 2-inch diameter anything. So 5 pounds per foot. You can convert that into a torque. Basic physics. Just take the half point or something, or
Yeah, yeah.
and then you can figure out the stress in the material. You can do that safety calculation, but it's you could probably put an elephant on top of that mast and it won't break. So it's probably not going to break because of like structural failure. It's going the fasteners, the joinery is going to be the weak point. But if you have an inner dowel that's tight, so it's got just the right diameter, or an outer sleeve, and that should be fine. So my previous mast fell down because it was just a threaded pipe, like a 3-inch section, a 3-inch coupler that just threaded onto one pipe and threaded onto the other, and eventually that failed. But now I just slid the tube on top of the pipe, like a foot down, and then I slid another tube of just the right diameter onto the top end, and the thing is completely rigid. It's unguided, 25 feet in the air, no problems whatsoever. So if you have you really just don't want to use screws. You just want to sleeve it to something else, and that'll be fine. Just make sure you use large surface area on your connector, whatever you're anchoring this to. So, I saw something at a home hardware the other day. It was just like something you screw into the wall, and it's just got a round section, and you slide your pipe in there and then bolt it from the outside. Just put some pressure on it, and that should be easy to do.
Yeah, the wind load for my antenna is 1.4 is it feet squared?
Uh-huh. I don't know what that is. Foot squared. Oh, it's 1.4 square feet.
Yeah, square feet, right? 1.4 square feet. So that's what is presented to the wind that the antenna is going to present. It's 1.4. Okay, yeah. Okay, it's 1.4 square feet, which is not that much.
Yeah, it depends also on you got to think of torque. So if it's 30 feet in the air, a small force.
But it's not. It's actually, it's only, as Eric said, about 6 feet above the mounting point. It's only 6 feet of it is exposed to wind.
Oh, okay. So, right. So assume that the antenna is not going to fail. So you just calculate the total force on it. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to take 100 miles per hour and convert it to a pressure. But if you
there's a way. I was looking for a spreadsheet. I did this calculation when I put up my tower before when I was in Caledon, and I did do a calculation of wind load on the antenna, but I can't find a spreadsheet I used.
Yeah, but space filling, like epoxy, would be good because it would fill in all the gaps.
Right, exactly. That's what I was planning to do. Is the expanding? What's it? Cyclo? The Gorilla Glue that expands.
Cyanoacrylate.
Yeah, it expands.
No.
Yeah, you gotta pick your glue carefully because some glues are brittle and other glues will expand quite happily, and you may want to put some. Yeah, you got to think of that carefully, and then weather resistance and all that stuff. But a screw, once you've glued it, a screw should be fine because it'll help prevent large scale movements. So
what I was saying, Hassan, is where the two masts joined, I'm going to put that glue so that to make this more rigid. Then I'm going to put a screw, and if I put a dowel inside this thing's not going to move. This thing's. I think it's over engineered.
6 feet tall. Yeah,
it's over engineered.
Just put a camera on it so when it falls, we can view it.
GoPro.
Okay, my neighbor will come stomping over.
Yeah. Okay.
with a mast in his head.
Yeah.
Do you have an opportunity to guy that anywhere?
No,
like
like
above the
6 feet? Why would you guy 6 feet exposed to wind?
The guy is in the opposite direction to your neighbor.
Well, I'm suggesting that because I have rings that that slip in between those sections, right? And then they have guy tie-offs, right? So it's probably not practical for if that's above your roof line, though. So
Yeah, I just found a spreadsheet.
Dave, it's probably fine, but how many extra pieces do you have? Consider doing a destructive test. If you have an extra 2 pieces,
Yeah, that's what my son said. My
Yeah.
son said, "Dad, just go. Let's just try and break it and see
Yeah.
how much it's going to break."
what's that piece worth? Did you get it at Princess Auto?
No, I don't think I got that from Dayton.
Okay.
If you want to budget, just put a, I don't know, PVC tube on top and use hose clamps, or I don't know, pieces of wood and then hose clamps. That would, like a splint. That would be a quick way to test it out.
Yeah, that's a common way of doing the standard galvanized antenna tubes. They're actually split. They saw up one tube, slide the two over each other, and put hose clamps on them. And that's pretty strong.
Interesting. They split it how, sorry?
Say
How?
again?
How do they split it?
It's probably saw cut. If you look at the standard, what is it, 1.5 or 2 inch diameter galvanized, it looks like fence post, but it's actually antenna tubing. One end is always been swaged down so that they actually slide into one another. And very often the larger one is saw cut. So you slide them over, put a gear clamp on them.
Oh, I see. It's like okay, you split the antenna so it can expand a little bit. You split the tube so it can expand a tiny bit and slide over the other one.
Yeah, well, one end is swaged lower so that they slide into one another.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that's full diameter, not swaged, is usually saw cut. You slide them over and put a gear clamp on them and just pinch it down.
Oh yeah.
I just found the spreadsheet I used for my Cushcraft. I used 1.72 as the loading, and at 8 feet it comes out to 33 pounds average force. 8 foot, the moment at 8 foot is 33 pounds.
30 foot-pounds.
Yeah. Which is, the Cushcraft is not going to have much of a loading whatsoever. Right? But it's just, again, it's, as Al and you guys are saying, it's that motion of it going back and forth, you know, of the wind blowing gust and it's coming back gust and it's wearing that joint out. That's the problem.
Yep.
Anyway.
Wayne had his hand up as well. There was a question from him earlier in the chat, by the way. Maybe you can address that as well at some point.
Yeah, just I did find a link to an antenna manufacturer's safety calculator. If it's of interest to you, it's I put it up in the chat. It doesn't seem to give you a number for the wind load, but it tells you whether you should be safe or not based on the thickness of the pipe you've got up and how long it is.
Oh, check it out.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dave, for that. So next we'll move on to Howard. How are you this evening?
Very good. I haven't been doing very much. All the roofing work is done, and so I have my 2-meter antenna replaced or moved, so it's higher now, and haven't had a chance to connect it up yet. So both antennas are back up in the air, and so I can start doing things again, but nothing on bench that I finished. Just that antenna tuner project that's slowly getting done.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much, Howard, for that. Speaking of antenna tuners, is anyone familiar with this ATU 100 project that's out there?
That's the one that I'm doing.
Is it? Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I wasn't sure. Yeah, I came across I think a link to the Facebook page on that. Seems to be a little bit of a community growing around this particular project. So, how far into it are you, Howard?
Well, it's finished. I just have to put the case together.
Okay.
The pieces of the case are together. I just have to solder the SO239s to the board, and it's done. And the switches, or the buttons, I mean.
Case won't keep the smoke in.
What's that?
The case won't keep the smoke in. So you might.
Well, I did the smoke. I did that, so it powered up, but it hasn't tuned yet. So it's a pseudo smoke test.
This is the one that goes up to 55 megahertz, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I modified it so it for the low power, because the stock one it won't tune unless it has 10 watts, I think. And I have it for my QCX. So you change the windings on the transformer and you change the software so that it'll work up with 5 watts.
Okay.
And now there's all sorts of stuff on it. Apparently now there's a model specifically for QRP. It's a ATU10, I think.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that. Thanks, Howard. All right. Frank, what's going down there in the southwest reaches of our province?
Well, well, there's nothing new on the bench. However, there's a brand new bench. So I'm pretty excited about that. I got one of these, I guess, upper level type work tables from Home Depot. And it's made by Husky. And the thing is as solid as a rock and quite attractive. It's got a wooden top on it. But because my workbench is now part of the office in the new accommodation we have, I had to have something that was looked half decent and was sturdy and everything. So I blew a bundle and got this workbench, and it was just delivered yesterday. So I spent today putting it together. And it claims it can hold over 300 pounds. So I don't think any of my QRP rigs will exceed that when I'm building them. So I'm quite happy with that. It fits in the ham shack / office / workshop and perfectly. And
are you in the office right now, Frank?
Yeah.
Well, I think this deserves a camera swivel.
Well, I can't swivel very well, but let's see what happens if I.
Is it a Husky? Is it a Husky one? Did you say?
It's a Husky.
Like that one?
Just a minute. What? Oh. What am I looking at here?
Now we're going to hear an explosion, a pop.
Dear. Anyway, hang on. Since I fell, I don't move around too good, but.
And you broke your camera. Way to go, Eric.
Yeah, I know. He's going to blame me for this now. He's going to get an invoice.
Can you see it?
You have to turn your camera on.
Yeah, I think you hit the camera off button. It actually shows Jitsi as your camera off. So maybe it became unplugged or something.
No? Hang on. I pick these things up and everything falls apart on them. So
okay, I'm sorry I asked.
There. Now, where are we?
There's Frank.
Okay, let's go back here a little bit.
Don't step in a puddle.
No. I'm not too sure what we're looking at.
I can see a tabletop, but there you go. Go down more. Nice. Go towards the floor a bit. There you go. That's a nice one, Frank.
Looks sturdy.
I don't see
Very
it.
sturdy.
Better hurry up and put some solder burns in there.
Well, that's my first concern was, my gosh, I don't want to, put a burn mark in that beautiful top. So actually, it's too good.
Just get it done and get it over with, and you won't worry about it anymore.
Well, yeah, just like the first dent in the car, eh?
Exactly.
All right. Well, we look
That's
forward to your, seeing some projects on there next time we meet up. So.
well, I hope I can. I got quite a few things to unpack and get working again. So we might be able to do some work on that table. Anyway, that's what's new. Nothing on the bench, but the bench itself.
Very good. Very good. Okay. All right. Now to Dwayne. You are next on my list here. So, what's shaking down south?
Okay, still been working on the project with the Pete's simple sideband transceiver. Got the VFO done again. I've got about 2 or 3 versions of it that I've done, but this one I've added a expansion header on the side so I can put little boards on it to use it for test equipment like an RF voltmeter, scalar network analyzer, antenna analyzer, and a couple other things. So you plug it into the transceiver and uses VFO BFO, or you can go and build another one. Or so you have some simple test equipment if you don't have like a VNA or a tiny ESA signal generator and stuff like that. Other than that, I've been spending a lot of time 3D printing some storage cases for all my parts. I'm trying to reorganize everything. So I found something on Thingiverse with different types of drawer combinations, different heights, different number of compartments in each drawer and stuff like that. So I can try to organize these boxes of parts that I've kind of had sitting around here. So they're all different colors. I'm trying to use up all the different partial open spools of filament that I had sitting around, and that's about it.
I don't know if you are. You're probably a member of GQRP, right, Dwayne?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that the same project that was on the cover of the most recent Sprat? Is that what you're working on?
No, the one on the list, Sprat, that was a direct conversion receiver. This is Pete's simple sideband transceiver. There's a club in Virginia that basically created a homebrew group. They had started with about 20. I think they've got about 10, 11 people right now that are actually finishing. 7 or 8 of them already finished and on the air. And actually, they've got a homebrew meeting that they have on Zoom. It's basically yours are first and third Wednesday. There's our second and fourth Wednesday. So about every Wednesday, I've got a homebrew club meeting to go to.
Perfect.
Yeah. Harmonious. Yeah, great. Okay, all right. Well, thanks very much for sharing that, Dwayne. So, and BE3 POA. You're next on my hit list.
Okay, well, I have 2 projects on the go. Both of them, well, one's waiting parts. That's the that's what it's going to look like eventually. But still waiting for parts on that one. The other one, the antenna mapping project, I'm waiting for some information from Kevin on that one to continue with that one, at least for the circuit board design in KiCad. So in the meantime, speaking of PCBs, I decided to go non-chemical. I did try to do some cold transfer. That started off okay, but then kind of fell apart. So I broke down and bought a CNC machine. And Dave, VE3 EAC here in Kingston, he bought one several weeks ago. So I waited till he had all the bugs worked out of it to see how well it was producing circuit boards, and looked pretty good. So I went and bought one as well. There it is over there. And I've been playing with that one for the last 3 days. So I did do in some MDF, just a test run on that. So that turned out pretty good. But so right now I'm I'm involved with 3 programs, of course: KiCad, Flat Cam, and then Candle. So I think I have most of Candle figured out, and Flat Cam I'm just started to work on today. I did run into some problems with the homing function on it at the beginning, and eventually I sent an email off to SaneSmart, and the technician, like 12 hours later, I guess they're on. I must be halfway around the world because I was getting the replies back from him in the evening. Anyway, long story short, I tried a couple of things that he suggested, and then the last suggestion was to go with reloading the firmware, which I did, and it was pretty easy, straightforward, and that cured the problem. So the tech support from SaneSmart was pretty good in my opinion, and the quality of the CNC machine I think is very, very good. Probably I spent in total under 2 hours, I think it was, to put together. I think they say you can do it a lot quicker than that, but I don't believe that. And so I'm not too sure when I'm actually going to get around to doing the first PCB. Fairly soon, I think within the next day or two anyways, but we'll keep at it. So anyway, that's what's going on the shack here. So once I get this figured out, then I have the whole thing back together, and I can start making some boards.
Okay. Wayne's got his hand up there.
Yeah, I just wondered what the software interface was for PCB boards. I mean, does it directly read Gerbil files, or do you have to convert them?
No. So I export the Gerber out with KiCad and import that into a program called Flat Cam.
Okay.
And then Flat Cam you use to do all the, those little adjustments for what drill bit sizes you're using and how deep do you want the bit to go and all these kinds of things. And then set up your drill files and the Gerber files within that program. You can also, with Flat Cam, make any adjustments, last minute adjustments you may want to do with the board layout.
Okay.
And then Flat Cam will generate the G code. Is it G code?
Yes.
Yeah. G code, and then that's imported in with Candle, and Candle is the one that operates the CNC itself.
Cool. Thanks.
What's the price range for that CNC?
The CNC with a sacrifice board and an extra set of bits came to $640, something like that, Canadian.
Okay.
You can get cheaper CNCs for sure, but Dave went and bought this one, and I liked what his was doing, so I thought, why would I go cheaper? So I'll just keep that one. Spend the kid's inheritance. Remember that motto?
Yeah.
And so and it's the Prover 3018 model.
Right. Okay. What's the bed size, roughly?
I think I just wrote it down. I think the effective size for milling is 300 by 180 by 45.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Does this put a laser engraver upgrade?
You can. I didn't buy that though, but you can.
Would that be useful for PCBs?
I'm sorry?
Would that be useful for PCBs?
I don't know how powerful that laser is, but if you get it strong enough, you could burn the PCB, I suppose.
Most people are using lasers. They'll paint the PCB with some sort of a resist, then use a laser to cut out the resist.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Peter, for sharing that. Definitely interesting addition to your bench. Unique tool. So, because that's your first CNC, right?
Yeah. I figured I might as well invest the learning curve now into this instead of trying to figure out cold transfer and maybe even heat transfer again. Anyways, it gets rid of chemicals as well.
Okay, very good. I've got a half-built CNC on my bench, but I'm still working out some bugs with that. It's the homegrown one out in Guelph, I guess it is, CNC Labs. right?
Oh, is that the one that that kind of came on the scene a few years ago?
Yep. Yeah, maybe 5-6 years ago. I first saw them, I think, at the Toronto Maker Festivals that used to go on.
And you're still working on it?
Sorry?
And you're still trying to build it?
Oh my goodness. Well, like I said, it's gathering dust right now, but yeah, it's that's the old version of it. It has a relatively modest bed size. Now they've got something called the long mill, which I think will do, I don't know, like 3 feet by 6 feet or so. I don't know, something pretty significant. So that's where they've swung their attention to. But anyway, it's getting there. Just like I said, I got a few kinks to work out on it. So. All right. Hassan, I think you are the last on the screen here to discuss. So,
Okay.
What's going on?
All right. So let me just get the light on. Okay. Let's see if you can see that. So my first project is the bench itself. I had a standing desk, but I built a proper top on it. I've got this aluminum channel in the middle so I can stick pens and stuff. The idea was to put a copper covering on it so it'd be a useful ground plane, but copper was too expensive and I couldn't get a continuous sheet, and so I just ended up returning it. So I went to the Hanover Ham Fest and got some toys there. Got this new antenna tuner. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yep.
It's pretty cool. It's got a dummy load built in, and you can switch 2 antennas and a power meter as well. So, good price as well. So I'm going to try that out soon. Got some capacitors, other toys. This is a library book. Inspiration. And I bought this book by Les Moxon, HF Antennas for All Locations. I ordered it, and it arrived like 2 days later from Great Britain. And I was like, wow, these guys are fast. And then a week later, I got a second copy. And I realized I had ordered one of these like 2 months ago.
You ordered so much stuff you can't even remember you're ordering stuff.
That's right. So if anybody wants it, I can ship it to them or give it next time we meet. It's amazing, by the way. It's pretty dense, but esoteric aspects of antennas stuff. Really neat.
Those are 2 different editions of the same book?
Same edition, just 2 different printings.
Oh.
Second edition. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good book. The guy really knows what he's doing, and he kind of describes details that other books don't describe, but it's a very dense style, so it's hard to read. But it's jam-packed with information. So in terms of projects, I was thinking of building a Moxon beam antenna. I had an idea for how to do it. I've done this before. I've actually built a desktop with cheap 1/4-inch plywood, 2 pieces of plywood, and styrofoam, like 1 inch of styrofoam in between, and lots of glue. And the thing is so light you can lift it up with your pinky finger, but it is completely rigid. And I was thinking for a Moxon antenna, I could do the same trick. I could put styrofoam and then glue thin veneers on the sides and all 4 sides. I mean, that's how they build airplanes. They're basically thin aluminum skins and some kind of foam composite, some foam core. So if I do that, I mean, have a really lightweight antenna that could go on top of the spider beam. It could be like 16 feet or 20 feet across, and it probably wouldn't even need guy wires on a thin, like on a fishing pole type thing. But it would be, I mean, the wind loading would be horrendous, and I would have to guy it eventually. But I just wondered what you guys think about. Has anyone ever done that or seen anything like that?
Wouldn't you be better off with those fishing pole kind of things for spreaders?
Yeah, that's possible, but instead of, I mean, fiberglass is still heavier than styrofoam with veneer on it. So this would be even lighter than that.
What about...
Didn't Kevin have some experience with Moxon antennas? I seem to recall him.
Well, I remember Gord. He had a Moxon, but I don't know if Kevin did or not.
Kevin had a 6-meter Moxon he brought to field day.
Oh, that's right.
It was made of PVC and stuff.
Right. That's what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a.
So you'd have to protect that wood veneer though,
Yes.
because
So I think
it'll probably eventually get saturated with water.
absolutely it'll have to be heavily kind of varnished or something, polyurethane spray. And I don't know how if it'll hold up to the weather at all, but it might be a good summer antenna.
Well, varnish and stuff is eventually going to weather and come away from the wood. So,
Right. That's true.
You put 7 or 8 coats on there, then maybe it might last you a couple of years.
That's true. It'd have to be marine spar varnish used for boats.
So I would go with the heavier fiberglass pole. Spend your money and buy Kevlar.
Yeah, I suppose. I guess it would make sense to do that. I
How
could
about
paint it.
fiberglass on styrofoam?
That would be ideal. That's what a lot of fiberglass things are. That's true, actually. That would be an interesting. Fiberglass on styrofoam would work pretty well, actually.
Like thin fiberglass, so like a skin, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like a very thin skin, so it would be even lighter than a fishing pole, which has to have some strength.
I think Dave has some experience with laying up fiberglass, so with the rocketry.
Dave, have you ever used epoxies on fiberglass?
Yeah, you gonna fiberglass your post?
No, I'm gonna make a beam, basically a thin piece of styrofoam. I guess you could lay that glass fiber cloth on it and then just coat it with epoxy.
Yeah, it's you gotta have the thing about fiberglass is you gotta have something that bonds it to it. You just can't have fiberglass around foam.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be brittle, right? You got to have some kind of a surface. Like the best way to what we used to do with rocket fins was to fiberglass them was to use a thin piece of balsa and fiberglass either side of that, and that gets very, very strong. I don't know whether foam is rigid enough.
Styrofoam? No, it's not rigid at all. The fiber. Oh, that's true. Right. Yes, you're right. Well, when the fiberglass dries, doesn't that provide the rigidity?
Yeah, but it's still not. If you take a piece of fiberglass and you just epoxy it and put it on like wax paper, right? And once it dries, you pick it up. You could just go like that and snap it. It doesn't have very much strength.
Right.
Whereas if you put it around like a tube, a cardboard tube, and you try and snap it, you can't.
Yes. So the styrofoam is supposed to provide that strength, and it doesn't provide it by being strong itself. It just distributes the forces in such a way that you get more bending, like a bending strength.
Acts as a bit of a skeleton.
And the other thing I would use is I wouldn't use fiberglass. I'd use Kevlar or use carbon fiber. Kevlar is more resilient to like punctures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Carbon fiber resists bending, right?
Yes, carbon fiber is ideal, but it's not. I don't know how cheap it is.
It's not common here. The styrofoam actually doesn't add to the strength. What it does is it separates the fibers apart from each other. So if you have like a laminate, say a half-inch thick, it keeps the top layer of the fiberglass away from the lower area, and that's what gives you the rigidity. So the core or the foam core is just that. It's a separating medium which allows you to put the fibers where the maximum load is.
Yep. Professor,
Yeah.
yeah.
It sounds like to me, Al, I think what's going to happen here is Dave is going to do destructive testing on aluminum mass, and Hassan is going to be doing destructive testing with fiberglass foam core.
Hassan, one more comment. Be careful on what type of resin you use. I'm not sure about styrofoam, but I remember many years ago trying to lay up standard fiberglass resin on the blue Dow SM, and it basically dissolved the blue foam.
Use
We had to use epoxy.
balsa wood as your.
Hassan, Hassan, go down. There's what's the place called? It's a marine.
Noah's
Down-
boat store. Noah's
down-
boat building, right?
Noah's, yeah. Go to Noah's. They've got sheets and sheet of fiberglass cloth. You could buy it as small. Carbon fiber is not that expensive. I wish I had my cloth. It's in my garage. I've got all kinds of different types of cloth and carbon fiber. I've even got carbon fiber where it's like a paper. It's really paper, wafer thin, as Monty Python would say. Wafer thin. So yeah, you get all kinds of different grades and use the epoxy, West Systems epoxy.
Okay. Noah's is pretty expensive. I went there once, and a friend who is at the boat building, he warned me, he said, don't buy from there. They're really...
That's where we used to buy all of our stuff for rockets, and we never had a problem.
I guess a rocket's a bit smaller than a boat. It probably adds up.
Resins are known to be expensive in the first place, so the minute you're going with epoxy resins, you're gonna get some price shock.
I think I might just stick to what I know. So wood glues, construction adhesives, thin veneers, and then I can paint the veneers black so that they have UV resistance. And I think that might actually be good enough for a prototype. Might last a year. I think, because I mean, I know resins are a whole step up in order of magnitude of complexity, and you know, I've never done any kind of epoxy composites before, so
Yeah, keep in mind when we go and we epoxy stuff, we're epoxying stuff that's going, Mach 1, Mach 2, Mach 3. Right. So we need the strength, right? So.
Yep. Yeah, I've come to the conclusion that a lot of these masts are very, I mean, if you go heavy, you have to go a long way, because, when you have a 40-foot mast, 20 pounds on top of that is just adds to your whole design thing. But if you go the other direction in terms of lightweight, then your problems become exponentially easier to solve. And so I wanted to explore that direction.
Look forward to your thesis on
it. Step by step. I haven't done any.
Remember, just like Dave, we want videos.
I'm dying to build this stuff, but life gets in the way. So hopefully I'll have some time before winter.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Hassan. Appreciate that update. So. Okay, and I think everybody has had more or less a chance to speak, at least about what's on their mind. Not a whole lot to report myself as far as what's going on either. I have been away for 2.5 weeks, so just kind of getting back into the standard, the daily grind, the weekly grind, whatever you want to call it. I mean, now I guess that we're into the 3rd trimester of the year, I am starting to think about leaving my field day antennas up over the winter. I'm not sure how smart that is, but what I'd like to do is actually do a remote control for that. So, having a system where I can operate inside the house, since it's basically an outdoor setup that I've got where the antennas are. And anyway, that's something I'd like to experiment with. Nothing really to do with home brewing, of course, other than home brewing a whole bunch of things together and seeing if I can to make this work for a remote experience. So anyway, that's something that's starting to, again, be on my mind now that we're in September here and the cold weather is upon us. So, but other than that, not a whole lot to report. So anyway, seeing as we're already about an hour and a half into it. I think we'll probably call it a night. Next meeting is our regular on Wednesday, September 15th, 2 weeks from now. Again, I'll be having a link to this recording posted up. If anyone missed it, you can pass the word around, and anyone wants to review any topics. I know there are some things in the chat there you might want to have a look at. If you don't have your chat window open, there's some links and questions and what have you. So have a peek at that, because those all disappear once we are off. This doesn't get included as part of the recording, unfortunately. So, and I think that's really about it, unless anyone has any closing comments to make. So, yeah, if not, I'd say 72s all around.
Ciao, everybody.
Bye-bye.
What's it?
Take care. Bye for now.
Thanks.
Bye.
Hey, Eric.
Yep.
See you later.
You know when they put the hands up?
Mm-hmm.
I just discovered it tonight. You know, when the hands up, the icon disappears. Go down to the toolbar at the very bottom and see where it says participants. When you scroll across, it's right beside the.
Sure. Yeah.
Click on that.
Is it persistent there, or?
Yeah, it stays up. So here, I'll just show you. When you do your raise hand.
Yeah.
Now I can take the raise hand icon off. Does it still stay on?
No, it actually simultaneously clicked off.
Okay, so now I've left it on. Oop, okay,
But it's on. Yeah, it's on. Yeah. You get a yellow icon, I see.
Yeah, so that way you can see it. Why does it keep coming off?
Makes it a little more obvious, I guess.
Is it still on to you?
No, it's off.
No, you no.
I wonder why it's doing to me, because everybody else that was doing their was doing it
Mine,
tonight.
huh?
It's just stayed on.
Mine
Stayed on even if the blue icon disappeared.
Yeah.
On the video feed.
Well, I just noticed that when anybody else was putting their hand up, the icon on that participants was staying on.
Huh.
Anyway,
Okay, well, it's a little more obvious anyway. I mean, with this participant list.
Yeah, it seemed to stand out a little bit more. So I think I'll have it active when I'm running the. Because it can be easy to miss.
Yep. No, and the meeting participants, that's so different. I think they've changed the menu around. That it looks different from how it used to, right? Yeah, I don't think it was a sidebar. It used to be like an overlay, and it would obliterate the most of the screen. So.
Yeah, I don't know why it keeps going off, because nobody else was going off tonight. Oh well, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Okay.
I mean, like if I do it, same thing, right? So, on your way.
Yeah, probably. I'm getting thirsty.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway.
All right. See you.
Yep. All right. Good night.
No.